I mean, I've heard a bit about what's going on with this lawsuit, so I'm actually kind of curious to see how Coffeezilla will be allowed to talk about this one.
Logan Paul is suing me for CryptoZoo, only a year after he thanked me for it. Rather than pay back his victims fully, Logan would rather publicly humiliate.
And CryptoZoo was the NFT game he was getting money for that I'm pretty sure was one of the scams Coffeezilla covered, yeah.
Himself in court by accusing me of defaming him. He's hired 5 lawyers to sue me, which he hopes will stop me from exposing him again.
Pro-hack vice forthcoming? That is a legal term. I do not know. Granted, that doesn't mean much.
See, only hours before this lawsuit was filed, I had reached out to Logan Paul about a new investigation into one of his companies.
Hours before. Oh. And this is the part I heard, that he made sure Logan filed this federally where there was no slap suit, so he couldn't immediately have it shot down.
Which has just been accused by the Canadian government of being a multi-layered fraud in Canada.
Yeah.
I obviously had questions, but before I was able to get answers, Logan's team of lawyers showed up to silence me. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to...
Thing is, something had to have changed for Coffeezilla to be able to make this video, because I don't think he's dumb enough to make a video while there's still legal questions about that, because it would be easy for him to lose at that point. So instead, something had to have been resolved enough that he had legal cover to make this video. Talking about anything when there's legal pending matters is not a good option. Oh, and you said it's Catspur. Okay. Pronunciation, names, pronounce something like Koyenchi? Koyenchi? I don't know how to say Koniechny. Ni at the end I can get, but the rest I don't actually know how to pronounce that one. Sorry about that. Catspur.
I'm going to go through this lawsuit. I'm going to tell you how to support us if you want, because while I didn't think I'd need help, I was wrong. But before we get to my mistake, let's start with Logan's.
Part 1. Logan's
This
lawsuit.
lawsuit is not about Logan Paul getting defamed. Instead, this is about him trying to dodge accountability, victims, and blame anyone but himself for his problems, especially me. This lawsuit says Logan Paul wants to hold me accountable for my actions.
Him. Because it's a slap suit. When I'm saying slap suit, what I mean is this is a suit meant to make someone stop doing something without merit on its own right. There's a lot of states that have various protections saying you can't do this and you would be required to pay back for wasting someone's time. Such as you point out someone's pizza that they bought from this one random store had shit in it because the guy wiped his ass with his hand and then wiped it on the pizza when he sold it to you, and you saw all of this happen. You record it, you put it up, and then they sue you for defaming them by saying they have shitty pizza. It's stupid, it's dumb, and there should be no way that ever would happen. But if someone brings a suit, and even if it's dumb, they have a bunch of lawyers who decide to bury you because fuck you. Yeah. In a slap suit, that is what's happening. It's meant to shut you up so you get rid of that so no one sees the evidence. Some states have rules where, at least states in America, have rules where that is something that would be immediately shut down, and the person bringing the suit would have to pay back all the costs of the people fighting it. Sometimes those rules are involved. Then there's states and locations and federally where it doesn't exist, especially the federally part. There are no federal in America laws about slap suits, so yeah, I'm assuming Paul went somewhere where it doesn't happen.
Actions. But what actions are those? Holding him accountable? It's ironic because his lawyers claim Logan has learned to believe in the importance of accountability.
And if you believe
but
that...
accountability for who? Currently, Logan is fighting the victims of CryptoZoo in court, and now he's fighting the journalist who exposed him in the first place. Personally, I believe Logan has learned nothing from this except how to silence people with the law. But I
mean, admittedly, that's a very valuable skill that a lot of people in upper business management really do love because it works. Get a bad review? Shut them up. It happens on YouTube with copyright claims. It happens in journalism with lawsuits. Copyright claims are easier, so it happens on YouTube very frequently. You can actually find a bunch of stories about this.
Won't be silenced because Logan's lawsuit makes no sense. We're going to go through it.
But it doesn't have to. It just has to be something they can keep long enough.
Logan's 5 lawyers tried to discredit me as a journalist. They paint me as someone who wanted money. They say...
I mean, that's not a problem. Journalism is a paid profession. Their entire because he said this entire thing doesn't make sense. Also, I should point out, the way a slap suit works is not that it is stupid. It's that it takes up time. And lawyers are expensive, so the person bringing it usually has a monopoly on more money. You don't bring a slap suit against someone rich enough to afford it. You bring it on someone who pointed something out that you can hold accountable and can't afford it. Because even if they would win, the cost would be so extreme, they would destroy themselves. And if you just randomly file bullshit motions that stretch it out infinitely to the point where even that doesn't happen, you win. Because the other person destroyed themselves, winning. That's the point of it. It's why they're just slaps in the face. Not how the phrase was meant, but how it turns out.
Say I had a false and malicious narrative. But you know who doesn't believe that? You know who secretly praises me behind the scenes?
This journalist, YouTuber, crypto uncoverer guy named Coffeezilla, who's incredible, by the way.
Seriously?
A very thorough, good-hearted, smart guy.
Why does this sound like a hostage video?
A deep dive into this project that I attempted to make called Crypto Zoo.
That's right. It's Logan Paul. He's the biggest enemy of Logan Paul's defamation case. Who knew? Because defamation requires actual malice and a reckless disregard for the truth. But he just admitted on camera that I am thorough and good-hearted.
And the problem with that is what I mentioned earlier about how slap suits require you to destroy someone. Again, technically, truth is a defense. If you're saying true things, not your opinion, but things that are verifiably true, you're going to win. It's why you just throw a million things to drag out the process, because it, again, slap in the face. Not how it's meant, but how it functions.
Maybe that's why he wanted to remove that video from the internet, according to the YouTuber who released it.
The only issue that was ever communicated was remove this crypto stuff, remove this Crypto Zoo stuff. If Crypto Zoo is in there, if Coffeezilla's in there, I'm not going to promote it.
Oh, look at his face. Like, yeah, he's doing the bit. Oh, God, the persona's slipping. I fucked up.
Remove this Crypto Zoo stuff. If Crypto Zoo is in
Oh,
there,
I
if
feel
Coffeezilla's in
joy
there,
at
I'm not going to
this.
promote it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it one more time because I want to. Just, this is the moment of you fucked up. He could still probably do it because from what I heard, he's suing in a place where slap suits are not protected against. So, yeah.
Zoo stuff. If Crypto Zoo is in there, if Coffeezilla's in there, I'm not going to.
It's just like the smile fades. He goes to a frown. He tries to bring it back. But the eyes, there's actually a change in the eyes.
Crypto stuff. Remove this Crypto Zoo stuff. If Crypto Zoo is in there, if Coffeezilla's in there, I'm not going to promote it.
Yeah.
There's just something amazing about this that I actually quite love.
Remove that Crypto Zoo stuff, that Coffeezilla stuff.
I have a personal bias against Logan Paul ever since I got more information about what the shit he's done. Not even some of the dumb shit, but like stunts he's pulled where he decided the best way to engage with his fans was to go out on a balcony, a glass window, and simulate being assassinated with blood splatters on a window for his kid fans out there to freak out while watching him because they all found out where he was staying. And this is a thing he did, and it's not the worst. There is actual video of this because these were videos he put up pulling pranks. And then all the Crypto Zoo stuff is flat out crime, so I have a bias. The guy seems like a scumbag.
Doesn't look good when you compliment the guy you're trying to sue. Maybe that's why Logan isn't even suing me for my original investigation at all.
Oh?
Despite most of this lawsuit being a ridiculous fanfic
What did
about
they end
how
up
I took
choosing?
Logan out of context, that Logan was a victim, that I withheld text messages. Logan isn't suing me for any of the original investigation, though.
What did they end up deciding to claim? Again, it's a slap suit. It's not meant to be good. It's meant to literally draw out the process in such a way that you are impoverished. That's the point. But it would be kind of cool to at least see what bullshit he's claiming.
Because he knows he can't. Instead, at the end of the lawsuit, we find what my defamation really is. I'm being sued for 2 videos and 1 tweet where I advocated for refunds. For the victims. Yes, you heard me right. Logan Paul sued me after I tried to get his fans, the Crypto Zoo investors, a full refund. Remember, there are two parts to CryptoZoo, the NFTs and the Zoo tokens, and Logan chose only to refund the NFTs, which is a minority of the losses, and I had a major problem with that. I told Logan this. I've stated over and over my opinion that it is disappointing for someone as rich as Logan to not make things fully right, and instead only pay back a small part of the losses while fighting the rest of the victims in court.
Because if you have to repay the money you stole from people, you don't actually make a profit stealing from them. That's just common business sense. I know what I said.
And it's those videos and tweet where I ask for refunds, which I'm being sued for. The first video in question is about Logan Paul not paying out refunds for 6 months. The second video was about Logan's partial refund, having a clause to make sure you couldn't sue him for the rest of your refund. And the tweet, I simply said, Logan's the type of guy to thank you for exposing a scam and block you when you remind him to pay up.
I mean, admittedly, if it turns out that he blocked anyone that actually would be legally defendable in court for Coffeezilla, because, you know, doing it is proof that it happened, so it's stand-up material. But again, the point about a slap suit, and I'm saying this at this point to remind myself because it's so infuriating, it's not about being right, it's not about winning, it's about dragging out the process because lawyers are expensive, and if you have more money than the person you're suing, you can forcibly impoverish them. And when they quit, they auto-judge against them and they lose. Or they quit and they settle and you get to ask them to do whatever you want because you have all the money. In fact, you can even dangle getting something back to them to be kind and generous. Mostly you won't because that would just be a dick move. And also you're greedy enough to do this in the first place, so you wouldn't do that. But also you're stupid enough with money where you think this is a good option. So, yeah.
I mean, yeah, now he's the type of guy to then sue you. Now, I'm sure Logan doesn't like it when I say things like Logan's victims or Logan's scam, but I have a question. If they're not Logan's victims, whose victims are they? Even Logan admits they are victims. He told me via...
Just thought we had the same goal of helping victims, not a diverse or divisive social media war. Still calling them victims, though. And if they ever actually got to a judge, this might be a thing. But you won't.
Text. Just thought we had the same goal of...
Although he's talking about this, so he probably did get to the point where he knows something would happen where he has leeway then.
Helping victims instead of a divisive social media war. So he agrees people have been wronged by his game. You know, the thing that he said will earn you money.
It's a really fun game that makes you money.
So how are these not Logan's victims? He, of course, would say it's his business partner's fault. But remember, Jake and Eddie have been out of the picture for years. And yet, CryptoZoo hasn't been released, despite Logan constantly promising it, and of course, also threatening to sue me.
We're gonna handle this ourselves while we continue to build CryptoZoo, and I'll see you in court.
By the time this comes out, it'll be done. The game's gonna be made. You're gonna have the opportunity to get your money back if you want.
I'm assuming the game is not out at this point. I mean, if it actually did, that would be a very good defense, and I think Coffeezilla would have brought that up right here. It's like, okay, eating crow on this one, but he hasn't, and so I'm going to assume, you know, it isn't.
If you don't want to play the game.
The only reason I'm not looking it up is because I do not want anything to do with that in my browser history, because then, you know, someone would get a hold of that and I get ads about Logan Paul, and I don't want that, man. I do not want that reminder.
And I'm going to take care of the people who made me look like it.
Yes, unfortunately, when you say take care of them, you meant with a baseball bat.
This was a scam perpetrated by me.
Right. Logan wants to sue me and release a finished CryptoZoo game, but he's only done one of those. Since Logan can't blame his partners, Jake and Eddie, for this because they've been out of the picture, do you think he'll take accountability for not launching CryptoZoo?
Nope.
No.
Called it.
This time, he blames the government. He says releasing CryptoZoo...
Are you serious? As far as the game itself, unfortunately, it will not be released. I personally spent $400,000 to have it developed after its completion in early 2023, and some further diligence. Unfortunately, there are too many regulatory hurdles that would need to be cleared that I did not originally understand. It would ultimately delay the buyback even further. I'm assuming one of those hurdles is you spent $400,000 to make probably millions on top of that, and you like having money now. That would be a hurdle, yeah. I mean, having to pay taxes on money that's not just an investment. In fact, you could even call it a loss right now and have it taxed against your income. I have no idea if that's what's happening. But that's the dickish type of accounting that actually would get him in significant trouble, because that would be IRS territory, and I don't want to deal with them.
Who has too many regulatory hurdles. Maybe they should have thought of that before multi-millions of dollars of zoo tokens and eggs were sold. And now Logan...
And admittedly, we've already seen he's able to hire attorneys to look over shit. He has 5 of them here. One of them should have been able to advise him on most of that.
Logan would rather blame the government than take accountability. Or if you let him keep talking, Logan might rant about internet reporters having too much responsibility.
These internet journalists, internet investigative reporters have way too much responsibility.
Moist critical. Some average gamer. Don't even see the face down here. Can't see the face. Of course, Coffeezilla.
On their hands that is being mismanaged and wielded in a really inappropriate way.
It's honestly funny to watch this guy whine about his problems, which you can barely hear over what sounds like a private jet.
Wait, sounds like? Dude, this is a flat-out private jet. It's like, oh no, they're taking advantage of me while flying in your private jet. It was so obvious that I didn't even think about this, but the optics here are literally the worst thing in the world. It's a millionaire complaining about people he stole from. There's probably a book about that somewhere, but I can't remember what it would possibly be. Pretty Scroogey of me to get that far.
Which brings me to another problem Logan has. Part of any defamation case is damages, and proving someone has harmed your reputation. But isn't Logan richer than ever with Prime? And did he have a reputation to harm?
No. Oh, God, no. No. Harming his reputation might be accusing him of doing nice things at this point.
His lawsuit shows comments calling Logan a scammer, possibly to suggest he's been hurt by my videos, but you have to have a reputation to lose one. And by the time of my reporting in question, Logan Paul was already accused of participating in multiple crypto pump and dump schemes.
Yep.
That article does not
Okay, random aside. Why do they have a random picture of him staring into the camera with a banana stuffed into his cheek? Like, that's creepy, right? Like, I can't tell if this is just one they decided to use or one he would submit, because, like, you know, considering it's him, he probably would actually just submit that one as an option. Okay, just going to ignore that.
Reference my work. So Logan had already had a reputation as a scammer before my investigation, at least if you believe their allegations. So this lawsuit from...
Also, just a random aside for an example of times that people accurately reported on a scammer who was committing crime and then the reporter was sued and lost. The Wolf of Wall Street sued someone who reported on him committing crime. Won. Forcibly had the people say that they were wrong and apologize. Was later sued and lost in court because they were committing crime for the thing they previously won a civil suit about. So, yeah. Depressing, but real.
From beginning to end is groundless, meritless, frivolous, and Logan knows
That's
that
never
because
stopped it
behind
from
the
working.
scenes, in clips he didn't want to get out, he's saying I'm thorough and good-hearted. But in public, he wants to sue me, silence me, and cost me money, because that's the one department where we both know he's got me beat.
Yeah.
We might have facts. We might even have evidence. But he's got all the money and the lawyers.
Oh.
We might even have evidence.
It almost looks like he's tearing up a bit here. And I kind of get that because this is inherently unfair.
But he's got all the money and the lawyers.
Part 2, denial.
And this is where I have to get to my one embarrassing mistake in all of this. See, my defense against rich people like Logan Paul is media insurance, you know, for frivolous lawsuits.
This I did hear about, and I know what's about to happen, and I'm going to hate this. The problem with insurance is that it's not a guarantee because they can deny it. It's like a payout can be denied. It's like, well, you didn't die exactly as you were covered, so you get nothing.
So when I was sued, I immediately called my insurance company to file a claim, so I wouldn't have to pay for it. But they told me they're not going to pay. They're trying to get out of covering us, using lawyers and fine print. It's a long story that I will be explaining on my second channel because insurance underwriting is very boring. But suffice to say, I got danished.
In other words, we want your money until we need to actually do the thing you paid us for.
They have even gotten scammed. I'm not quite sure. For now,
Nope, that is not a scam, unfortunately. It is legal because they've put in ways where they're allowed to do it. Does that sound like a scam? I would never say that out loud, but it's like dental insurance. And maybe you happen to go to a dentist last year and you paid for dental insurance for a few years. And when they ended up having to do a root canal, you had to pay $1,000 out of pocket because the insurance covered $23. I'm not saying I'm bitter, but not even close to what he's talking about. Here's probably a factor of 3 zeros added on to what I had to pay compared to what he has to. So, yeah.
now, the bottom line is we have to fight Logan with our personal funds, which means I need to ask for your support. If you want to help and are able to help, there are 2 ways to contribute to our fight against Logan Paul. 1, you can join our Patreon, which supports the channel, or you can buy exclusive merch at Coffeezilla.store.
Oh? Ooh. What kind of... Okay, I need this. So I'm going to be making a purchase after this video.
Where we just released the Coffeezilla defense drop. That's right. Life hands you lawsuits. You get rejected by your insurance. Make merch. So
Just throwing it out there. They actually look pretty good. Hit them up.
here's the deal. These shirts will be available for pre-order for only the next 14 days. And
Do I have time? 3 days ago, we're set.
100% of profits we make from selling them will go to this lawsuit.
Was it only 3 days
If
ago?
for some weird reason there's money left over,
August
it will
5th?
be
Yeah.
dedicated
Okay, it's still
to
good then.
future legal costs for this channel. I just want to let you know they're available, and it's a cool way to support the lawsuit.
I'm taking
while
the kitty
also
one.
getting something in return. I didn't want to.
Oh, yeah, the kitty was from his movie intro video. Yeah, definitely doing that one.
Just set up a GoFundMe. So if you want to do that, just know pre-orders take a few weeks to get done because we make them after you order. And remember, you have 14 days. And you can get that at Coffeezilla.store. I'll link that below. It's Coffeezilla.store.
Hit the link
All
up. It still
now we're going
works.
to shift gears and talk about
you're
the
seeing this
final
live,
part
nice.
of this lawsuit.
Lawsuit timing.
Why
This I
did
heard
Logan
about too.
Paul sue me now? It's been over a year since he apologized and thanked me.
Thank you, Coffeezilla. I am very grateful for your work and your investigation.
Why would you record that? Because it doesn't matter. A slap suit doesn't actually require anything of substance. It requires you just to be an asshole.
I mean that. Thank you, bro.
It might seem strange, but I've got
It might? Dude, that is stretching credibility more than anything Logan Paul ever said right there.
some fun facts for you that may or may not be related. Did you know 6 days before the lawsuit, I had featured Logan Paul in a teaser for a video? Did you know 21 hours before the lawsuit, I had texted Logan for comment? Did you know I told him he had 24 hours to respond, and Logan sued me 3 hours before the deadline?
In other words, he got in contact with an attorney really fast to try and shut it down.
Yep, that's right. Logan's lawyers then threatened me in that lawsuit email that I
Should you choose to proceed with any reporting on Liquid Marketplace, please know that Mr. Paul intends to hold you fully accountable. I hope there's a way to countersue, but I kind of doubt it.
if I report on this new story, Logan might hold me
And the reason I doubt a countersue would be successful is the same reason a slap suit would not be successful on Coffeezilla's case. Because Logan could then impoverish him by stretching it out infinitely.
accountable. And Logan's definition of accountability seems to mean he'll sue me, which is why I believe this lawsuit was not designed to win, but to shut me up, to threaten me,
Yep.
using Logan's wealth and a federal court system without anti-slap to send a message.
Federal court system without anti-slap, yeah. And I've heard about this. Coffeezilla's in Texas, and Logan Paul moved his case to federal court in Texas because he's not a local citizen. So even though Coffeezilla is in a location that has anti-slap laws, the federal court in Texas does not have those protections. They do not honor them at a local level. So he's essentially saying, well, since I don't live in Texas, I'm going to sue you in Texas where there isn't a slap suit protection so I can destroy you. Thank you, Philip DeFranco, for this information that doesn't make me sleep better at night at all. I'm sure no one has ever said that.
Do not tell that story. Of course, I don't believe that's the only reason I was sued. Clearly, Logan wanted to sue
Revenge.
me for a while, but I believe this new investigation played a role in pulling the trigger. Maybe Logan's team will deny this. Maybe they'll say it's coincidence they sued 3 hours before a deadline. Maybe it's coincidence I announced a story about Logan 6 days before, and maybe it's coincidence that Logan's lawyers threatened me about this new story while suing me for the last story that I hadn't discussed in 6 months. But I don't think so. Either way, when someone threatens new reporting in a lawsuit about old reporting, the effect is the same. So, what was this new story?
OSC. What is OSC? Accuses executives of Logan Paul's liquid marketplace misappropriating investor funds. Oh, that is a thing. That is not a scam. That is flat out fraud. There is a very big difference. A scam is bad. A scam will get you in trouble. A scam can be sued. Fraud is something other rich people fear happening to themselves, so they made sure there are actual protections for. Investor funds, misappropriate. He basically stole from investors. That is keyword for it doesn't matter how much reporting Logan Paul is trying to stop right now with Coffeezilla. He's trying to make sure no one else finds out about it until he has some way to either try and settle that anything with the OSC. Because that is a very heavy claim that could do him significant financial damage. For an example of a guy who did investor fraud, Sam Bankman-Fried, who Coffeezilla also reported on, in jail, finally, because of that kind of shit. So, yeah.
Well, it's partly about a Canadian law enforcement investigation,
Canadian,
and
that's
it's
why I
partly
went.
about something I told Logan to help him. Yes, believe it or not, I tried to help Logan Paul.
That was a
to
mistake.
explain, we need to go back to when CryptoZoo first got exposed. Logan said he was going to sue me, but got backlash. So he called me to apologize. He said he was wrong and wanted to make things right. I made it clear refunds are the absolute right move going forward, and to my surprise, he agreed. 100%, man. We're on the same page. But we weren't. Logan now doesn't use the word refund. He calls this a buyback. But at the time, I need you to understand.
Because a buyback is very easy to change. For example, if you sell off all of your tokens for all of the profit and then buy back everyone else's tokens for pennies on the investment, buyback on the exact value it's worth after I crashed it because of the pump and dump, which I've already committed on you. Yeah.
I thought Logan was going to announce a full refund, so I began trying to help him. And dare I say, I was even nice to the guy. You can see that I tried to offer people who might be able to trace blockchain damages to refund people. And in the same spirit,
He probably didn't even know you could do that. The thing about blockchain that criminals like is that it's not traceable. The thing about blockchain criminals don't like is that it actually has every step of the financial transactions within its information, which is why it's a really good security feature. And if you can get at any step of the way the transaction information, yeah. Now, there's a lot of ways to obscure that are very easy, but it can be done. It's just really slow. And most people don't understand crypto, so that makes it harder.
I made Logan aware of potential problems at a different company he co-owned called Liquid Marketplace.
On a platform that I co-founded called Liquid Marketplace, it allows co-ownership of top-tier assets. So instead of one person, me owning this card, we as a collective can co-own it together.
This was a fractionalized collectible platform where Logan sold things like roughly half of a $5 million Pokemon card. The idea was you could buy tokens that represented partial ownership in rare collectibles. That video, by the way, got 8 million views, and a lot of people bought in.
That's stupid. That is legitimately stupid, because as long as he has actual physical control of it and he can decide to sell it, it doesn't matter. Fractional ownership is also very complicated because you can do that right now in land and property deeds. And if you've ever heard about someone having to go to court because of property ownership disputes, you can understand why. That is a horrible idea when it's used legitimately.
Into this platform. The problem was I had heard troubling stories about this company, and I was trying to verify if the claims were true.
Like, how do you verify you
I
even
had
have
gone
property
to the CEO,
ownership?
Ryan Bahadori, to ask him questions.
Honestly, it sounds more like those Scottish land rights because you're a liard. That's my attempt at a Scottish accent. As you can tell, I cannot do accents. But yeah, the Scottish land right thing where you become a lord and you get a foot of land in Scotland, it's a scam. Sort of. It does preserve wilderness for getting a foot of land, but you don't actually get a lairdship or a lordship because that's not a thing. And they're actually protecting land that couldn't actually be developed because it's in really rocky, remote, hilly terrain with no agricultural value, far from cities. So it's not actually in danger of being developed either. So it's technically not a scam because they're doing what they say in the fine print. But
he kept dodging meetings. And I don't mean he refused meeting with me. I mean, we would set up meetings and then he did not show up. So I was
ghosting.
troubled. And I brought this up to Logan. I figured if he's going to make one company right, make them all right. Otherwise, it might come back to bite him. I mean, can you imagine the disaster if another one of Logan Paul's co-founded companies was discovered to have scammed his fans?
Shocking.
Hypothetically, that would be a very
Which 3?
bad look.
4?
So I'm thinking,
5? I don't
while
know.
he refunds CryptoZoo, Logan can push the CEO to talk with me, and I can figure out the truth. Maybe Logan can fix it if there's something wrong. And you can see Logan responds to me. He says, gonna push Ryan to talk to you. Again, appreciate it, man. Now,
the more I hear Logan Paul in text and talking, it's more, this is just a slimy sociopath who's saying exactly what people want to hear because it'll get them to stop asking questions like, where's the body? What did you do to the body? Does that person in the suicide forest already like that? Or did you make a prop and then actually do it to someone? Is that the case? I don't think so. But is it? I don't know. I can't say.
I don't hear back from Ryan or Logan about this, so after a while I follow up again. I say, let me know if Ryan plans on talking. A lot of nasty stories still out there about Liquid Marketplace, embezzlement, etc., and he's dodged meeting me already once. Now, obviously, the most shocking part of this is the word embezzlement. I need to make it clear. This is not an accusation. I am not accusing Logan Paul or Liquid Marketplace of wrongdoing. I brought it up in our texts because it is my job to investigate unverified claims. That's the whole point of me wanting to meet with the CEO, but I was stonewalled. Logan never replied, despite me reminding him again via email 5 months later that I wanted to talk to Ryan about, quote, embezzlement and, quote, potential fraud.
Oh.
Once again,
5 months.
not accusing anyone of wrongdoing. I'm simply doing my job at the time to chase down rumors and unverified claims. Without concrete proof, I would have never talked about any of this. But on June 19th, 2024, things changed because the Ontario Securities Commission revealed a...
That's what OSC stands for, Ontario Security Commission. Okay. So it's not even partially investigated. They're actually filing it. Wait, which did he say that came out on?
June 19th, 2024.
June 19th. It's August. Oh, that's quite a bit ago. 2 months? 19th. So closer to a month and a half then. Oh.
Things changed because the Ontario
This is moving
Securities
fast.
Commission revealed a Liquid Marketplace investigation where they accused
Oh, so not just filing it, they're actually acknowledging that they've already been investigating it.
Liquid Marketplace of being a multi-layered fraud, taking in $2.7 million
Only?
from the sale of these fractionalized collectibles.
Oh, no, it's just specifically the marketplace. Okay.
The platform allegedly did not do exactly what it promised.
Wait, go back. I want to read that exact quote. These false and misleading representation exposed token purchasers to undisclosed risk, caused investor losses, and benefit LMP and its associates. Contrary representation, describing area detail, does not represent legal ownership of underlying collectibles. It's exactly the Scottish land sale again. Because you're actually buying a token saying that you have that, but you're buying the placard saying it, not the actual token itself.
Some of the blockchain tokens did not even mint.
So their word blockchain failed to mint. Oh, dear God. for many of the collectibles, and no purported token purchase or ownership has been recorded on any blockchain. So in other words, some of them didn't mint, and if they did, it wouldn't matter because nothing's recorded.
But even worse was the allegation that approximately $3 million was misappropriated from $10 million they raised of investor funds.
And that's the part that probably means there's other countries involved in this, because Logan Paul's fan base is not just in Canada where this suit is happening. And that right there is also very important, because investor funds, like doing dumb shit with your money that turns out to be a bad idea, would mostly be civil. It's bad. It could be a scam, and there's maybe things you could do about it to get governments involved. Investing is such a very specific term, though, because that is heavily protected, at least in American law. That is, honestly, I'm just expecting the FCC or whatever government agency runs this in America to bring some kind of suit against him at this point, because if the Canadians have enough money to move forward with specific investor-related allegations, there's definitely other countries doing this too.
This is a very similar claim to the one I had tried to verify. Ryan Bahadouri, the guy I tried to speak to, was accused of, quote, making hidden payments to shell corporations without any legitimate business purpose, as were two other of the founders.
Which was covered, but the thing is, where does this tie directly into Logan, other than him bringing the slap suit? The timing would imply Logan's the one doing it. And removing the video segments talking about Coffeezilla in positive lights, which would undercut his later usages as well.
And Ryan was accused of, quote, using company credit cards to buy high-end fashion, expensive jewelry and watches, personal health, and luxury spa services.
Yep.
If only there was someone who could have investigated this sooner. Now, it is really
Shocking. I wonder
important
who
to
that
say
is.
Logan Paul is not accused by the OSC. Only 3 of his co-founders and his company is. But given the history, I had questions. After all, Logan's promotional video about Liquid Marketplace is still up. And the reason many people cared about Liquid Marketplace at all was arguably Logan Paul. So,
because he's
here
the
were
brand
my
face,
questions.
yeah.
And as I read this, it's important to correct.
Liquid Marketplace got accused of embezzlement. Yeah, as did 3 of the top executives, 2 of which we've already mentioned, and I guess Logan Paul will be the 3rd. I spoke with you about these allegations over a year ago, wanted to ask for comment. This is the one that happened, 24 hours roughly before he got sued for this very thing, and this was when he was asking for comments.
They say Liquid Marketplace got accused of embezzlement. Technically, the OSC alleged misappropriation of funds.
Investor funds. That investor word is a very loaded word. That is not something to leave out. Misappropriating funds, bad. Misappropriating investor funds comes with legally binding agreements. That's why it's bad.
Those are similar. They're not the same. So I wanted to correct that. But here's what I asked. Quote, did you take any action on hearing these allegations over a year ago?
You probably asked people not to tell them about it.
Did you get approached by the Ontario Securities Commission? And is it true that Liquid Marketplace lied about their claims of insurance, appraisals, and co-ownership as the Ontario Securities Commission alleges? You can see I gave him 24 hours to respond on June 26th at 2:03 p.m. And I was promptly sued June 27th at 11:28 a.m.
Just pointing it out there in case anyone hasn't already. I'm going to be going to his website to pick up a store while this is still open because, one, the design actually looks really awesome and I want to buy it. There's a electro kitty look that just is kind of awesome. I'm definitely getting that. But also because it goes to the Fuck Logan Paul Defense Fund. Is it called that? No. Should it be called that? I would never say that out loud in public while being recorded.
a.m. with roughly 3 hours to spare. Now I want to be clear. I don't know the answers to the questions I sent. Maybe Logan secretly whistleblew to the OSC when I first went to him.
Yeah, no, there's no chance he did that. If he is doing this suit right now indicates there is not a chance. The only thing I can think of is that maybe someone else in his management orbit would be doing this and has access to his texts and would somehow be rich enough outside of Logan Paul to do this. But frankly, that's so many extra steps of deniability that are absolutely stupid. Essentially, you have to be in a conservatorship at that point, which if he is, that would actually be perfectly viable. But as far as I know, that is not the case.
I don't know. That's why you ask questions as a reporter. But now the story is not about those questions. It's about why I was sued immediately after asking them and threatened if I reported about Liquid Marketplace in a way they didn't like. This,
Considering it is literally in the public venue right now, as in it's been filed already. So again, if they had slap protections, this would be easy. They don't, because Logan Paul filed in a federal court in Texas that doesn't have those protections.
This is not how I wanted this story to come out, because there's still so much we don't know and so much I can't say now for legal reasons.
And that's why I'm not going into so much detail, because the slap suit could be enhanced and say it's defamation. Even if technically it's true, doesn't matter.
Maybe Logan's totally innocent. Maybe he surrounded himself with scumbags who defrauded his fans.
I mean, that second part is also going to be true regardless, but
maybe he'll do a refund for this project.
Doubt
I
it.
don't know, because I never got the chance to find out. I tried to investigate, but I was stonewalled and sued when I asked questions. Make no mistake, though, this investigation is still ongoing, and you can reach me at the email below if you were affected. I will release my full investigation when it's appropriate, because even if Logan doesn't want to answer questions, it doesn't mean I have to stop asking them. So in summary, Logan's lawsuit is not about my original reporting into CryptoZoo. Even if you take this lawsuit on its own without context, it's an argument over Logan not refunding victims in full.
I'm honestly surprised he hasn't gone into what a slap suit is on his end as well. Just because it is very important right now to understand why Logan is making these choices. I've been talking about it nonstop because it's very much literally important right now. But it seems like it is the defining point here that a slap suit is the reason this works. Because if he had these protections, he wouldn't need to worry about his insurance company. He wouldn't need to worry about having the money to afford the lawyers outside of that. It would just be a thing that he's done with. The fact this insurance company is apparently a giant piece of shit because they don't want to deal with someone who actually might need them. That's predictable, but annoying.
It's Logan insisting he's not to blame. It's all his business partner's fault. But I don't think that aligns with the publicly known facts. That's my opinion. For years, Logan has controlled CryptoZoo, and yet the game is still not out. Logan is now blaming the government for that instead of himself. And he also blames me for losing his good reputation, but you can't.
I mean, if the government was involved in keeping games from being published that are absolute shit pieces of crap that take money from people needlessly, we wouldn't have most of EA or Bethesda works. Well, actually, Bethesda is not that bad. It has bad things, but not that. BioWare and Blizzard would be fucked, though.
Can't lose something you never had. Not to mention, Logan is arguably richer than ever, and he's on the record finding my reporting thorough and good-hearted. So this defamation
and then immediately trying to hide it and getting absolutely depressed when it was pointed out it was still up.
Lawsuit feels frivolous even on the surface. But if you dig deeper, there's an even more compelling story, which I personally believe.
Oh?
Where the goal is to crush new investigations while taking revenge on old ones.
And this is where he gets to the slap suit part.
In this version, Logan might not even care about winning. Legal battles are expensive, and in the world of money, he's got me beat. So he can try to silence me by weaponizing the law. He can sue me for doing my job. He can sue me for asking questions.
And
he can sue me for asking for refunds. But it's going to backfire, because I think it reveals Logan as a bully rather than someone who's truly sorry.
Yes, but that doesn't matter because the entire premise of this isn't about his reputation. Oh, sure, he's claiming so in the suit, but we've already established, hell, Coffeezilla established his reputation is shit. So it doesn't matter. You can't make it worse. And the reputational damage won't matter because he still has the money and his fans ignore all the stuff that would say, hey, you're literally getting scammed. Cult behavior is annoying. This is infuriating because if the next few seconds are, and also following this up with, oh, and he's also going to lose this, this, and this, or I have these legal plans, which he probably shouldn't be talking about, so I hope he's not putting them in, then just thinking that reputational damage is the problem indicates that Coffeezilla it might be in a worse place than I was hoping, because I thought, okay, the video's out. Maybe they've made a breakthrough where he can talk about this safely and his lawyers okayed it. Does not sound like that's going to be the case.
Because Logan may be a master at convincing people he's changed, but I'm convinced it's the follow-through where things go wrong. You know, the action.
Yeah, it's still back to reputation. The reason I'm so annoyed about that, not just because obviously reputation for Logan does not matter. His fan base is his fan base and they're sticking with him regardless at this point. It's that it doesn't address the fact that the damage to Coffeezilla here is impoverishment. And I don't mean that figuratively. I mean going into such horrible debt to afford the attorneys to survive the lawsuit or to settle, and having to give Logan Paul everything he wants. Which is probably what will happen unless there's a huge merch drop that people can go and hit up, because I mean, just randomly saying right here, they're just pointing out if there was a link right there that I might be using right after this video, but if reputational damage is the only thing exposing this does, Logan Paul has no reason to stop, because that truly doesn't matter.
Actually changing part. There was a time where even I believed Logan was going to fully refund victims. That's why I was so nice to him.
It's like he's a
and tried to
sociopath
help,
telling you what you want to
despite
hear
him
to make you do what he
threatening to
wants.
sue me.
Stop.
But when it came time to pay up,
And when he
Logan
didn't
chose
stop,
a
he changed the
minority
tune.
refund and to fight the rest of the victims in court who wanted their money. And when I complained about that, Logan went from sorries and thank yous to lawyers and I'm suing you real quick. The irony is, it was that same initial belief in Logan's capacity to change that also made me bring up Liquid Marketplace to help stop potential problems. And yet here we are. The company is now accused of being a multi-layered fraud by the OSC. And the CEO, who I tried to talk to multiple times, is alleged to have misappropriated money.
And again, this is the thing I don't get, why Coffeezilla isn't highlighting the investor aspect. Maybe it's different in Canada and that's not nearly as important as just the fraud itself. But at least in America, that is a very large factor. Investor funds come with a lot of very deliberate language so that if you're investing, it's not a loan, it's not a purchase that can go bad, it's not just bad investments, it's investor funds. For example, a bad investment versus investor funds is, a bad investment is I put money in, things didn't go right, we lost money. Investor funds being embezzled is I put money in with this guarantee of this much money and this much here and this much in revenue. It's not the people buying into the game, it's people buying into ownership of the game to invest in its creation, which has a lot of legal documentation that is much easier to hold accountable in court, because you can see, here's what you said you were going to do in writing in a legally binding document that you didn't do, and then the money was taken and you ran, showing that it was all void in the first place, indicating very easy guilt. That is honestly surprising the Canadians are the first person bringing that one. That's actually a little weird.
This is despite me trying to talk to Logan directly many times as he asked.
Maybe we could have talked about this if you had reached out to me personally, not my manager, Jeff, who is...
And this is also why you know he's full of shit, because Coffee has documented all the times he was trying already. And I would take Coffee as word more than Logan Paul, just because this just seems disingenuous.
Not me, Steven.
Personal opinion,
Well,
of course.
I did try to reach out personally, and I got sued and threatened a day later. That, I think, says a lot about Logan's supposed change and his belief in accountability. Maybe the person he really believes in accountability for...
Accountability for thee, not for me.
...or is not himself, but me. Specifically, when I try to get accountability from him. If you want to support this lawsuit, the best way is Coffeezilla.
Again, it's only 3 days in, 3 days in. We definitely have time to do that.
Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.
You gotta love it when someone finds out that, hey, I have money. I can make people disappear. Legally, of course. And of course, the having to add the legally part in, because the other one would be a much bigger allegation. I mean, I'm not saying I don't know of it happening or that I do know of it happening. But if the next reporting is something about it, I will just go and shake my head and go, of course it is. Because that's fun. Would you believe this is not the most disturbing thing I've seen today? And that this is nice and relaxing by comparison to hand plates? God, that thing was... I was not ready for that. Yeah. So I'm going to go and hit up the website Coffeezilla set up, because admittedly the digital t-shirt for the cat looked really cool, and I just kind of want that regardless. If you're interested, I'll leave a link to the video. Hit it up. And for everyone else, thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next one.